Well, good morning, Cam.
Greetings and salutations, Mitch. How are you?
I'm doing well. I finally got to mow my lawn yesterday morning after nearly 2 weeks. It just kept raining. Every time I had
Uh-huh.
time to do it, it was wet and I couldn't. So I squeezed it in yesterday morning before work and I'm happy. So my lawn is looking beautiful. I don't know if you've ever done like any kind of fertilization or anything like that on a lawn of yours, but we hired True Green this year to do stuff for us. And whatever they're doing is really working because the weeds are gone and the lawn is coming in lush and just greener than I think it's ever looked. And it just looks amazing. And of course, because of that, I have to mow more often. So,
Did you have to do multiple passes after 2 weeks?
I didn't. There's a couple spots where I could have probably done a better job, but I had an hour to get it done, and that's about how long it took me. So, and of course, I had to jump in the shower quick when I got done too. So, I had to figure that all in before I went to work. So, but it's done. So I'm happy.
There you go.
All right. Well, I got yelled at the other day when
Good.
a certain someone listened to our show from last time and said, "How could you drop a bomb at the end of a show and not pay it off on that show?" And it's, of course, it was timing. But I deleted my Instagram, not my Instagram account, but just the app from my phone because I had reasons. So you recall several weeks ago, Elon Musk was buying Twitter and all this stuff, and this didn't directly affect my reason for deleting it, but I was listening. I'm pretty sure it was Upgrade. Mike and Jason were talking about that story, and one of them posed the question: do you think that social media has benefited or harmed our culture? And I got to thinking, there's no like argument that it's made anything better. But there's a whole lot of argument that it's made everything worse. And as much as I sound like an old man shouting at the wind, I
Get off my lawn.
get off my lawn.
My nicely manicured, fertilized lawn.
Right. As much as I feel like that in saying this, it's one of those things where I realize that Instagram has done some things for me, but nothing good really. It has cost me a lot of money because they're very good at advertising to me. And it's wasted a lot of time and probably exposed me to some things that I didn't need in my life. Not anything terrible, but just like things I just didn't need in my life. And so I just decided I'm just going to delete it from my phone, see how long it takes before I really feel like I need to put it back on my phone and engage in it with it again. And that has not happened for weeks now. So I think I'm pretty happy without it. Now, the other
Right.
news, someone came back to Twitter.
Yeah, not Donald Trump. I shouldn't have made that joke. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, much less exciting. I hopped back on, but it was mainly because I wanted to make sure I was keeping track of stuff ahead of WWDC.
Oh, okay.
That was really it. And I tweeted a couple of things, but it was more I just wanted to keep up to date with, a lot of the coverage too that came after it from, some of the websites that I follow. And get people's, see people's reactions to different features. And it's always it's an easy way for me. Federico goes bonkers on Twitter after this and releases like screenshots of like hidden little gems and, that sort of stuff. So it was more just to do that now. Will I stay? Will I go? I don't know. We'll see. But it was like, oh, okay. This is, and I made lists too. And like I'm super stringent on who I follow on social media simply because I don't want it to be, I don't want it to have a lot of negative effects like you talked about. So I follow like only people that are either going to give me news and not like political news, like technology news. People that are going to give me insightful things to read on a faith or theology basis, and that's pretty much it. So it's a very what's the word? Oh my gosh, starts with a C. People do this at museums. They don't cultivate. They like when you like intentionally. Oh my gosh, Mitch, words are failing me, and I sound like a total idiot right now. Curator, a museum curator. So it's a very curated portion of Twitter. I don't deal with, and I do the same thing on Instagram too. It's very, very like, if you look at like my follower count versus how many people I follow, like my follow count is very, very limited to like my best friends or, a couple people that are really, really good photographers. And that's it. Because I don't want to get swept out to the sea of chaos that is awaiting for anybody who hops on those platforms.
All right. All right. Well, I do have to say that I just figured out why you sounded really bad on this end, and it was my fault, not yours. So I figured that out and fixed it. So.
Oh, you fixed my voice. Thanks, Mitch. I sound so much better now.
Okay. I think I got some more work to do.
Golly gee, this is a good show.
Oh boy, now that we've lost all our listeners. Oh, brother. All right, well, we were going to start off with just running through our Predicties results for the keynote on Monday and subsequent news after that. But of course, the 24-hour rule was in effect. But just to run over the rules really quickly, we're not going to have a music bed and a lot of complicated rules like some shows do. But we picked. I saw that one coming. Stop it. Anyway, we had 10 rounds that we picked different things. Of course, we have our iOS round, our iPad OS round, Watch OS, TV OS, which we'll have an interesting discussion about, Mac OS, a new or updated app, and then we had 2 wildcard rounds, our Buck wildcard round, which I'd like to say we both got points for, so that's pretty exciting. And our annual Predicties pick, which we'll get to in a little bit, that we were able to wager up to 3 points on. And that might decide the who wins today, because right now we're gonna have to argue a little bit because we're tied as far as I have it right now. So we'll see what we can come up with as we talk here.
I think you're about to get lawyered, Mitch. I think that's what's about to happen.
You think so? Okay.
Yeah.
I have one thing that I could not, and you see it in yellow in the doc. I could not substantiate whether or not this one was we hit this one or not, but we'll get to that here in a little bit.
We'll get there. Yeah, right. We'll get there.
So let's start out with iOS, which got 40 minutes out of the just under 2-hour event. So they had a lot of news on iOS. And I said we'd see new widget sizes. So I gave myself that point only because we have widgets on the lock screen now, and they are a different size from the widgets we had before.
But they're not even widgets. They're complications straight from WatchOS. They look the same. And they called them widgets, so you get the point. We'll just say that now. They called them widgets, you get the point. But they're not widgets. They're complications.
They are 100%.
That's why I'm annoyed.
They are 100% complications. But
and even I was over at some friend's house yesterday, and I was showing one of them the customizable lock screen stuff. And she goes, "Oh, that's exactly like how I do it on my Apple Watch. And I was like, duh. They took the entire Apple Watch face interaction, the UI, the entire thing, from customizing it to how you, and they just moved it to the iPhone lock screen. But they call them widgets on the lock screen of the phone, even though they're complications, and you get a stupid point because of that. It's so not cool.
So, and you selected more interactive widgets, which I totally thought was going to happen. And man, if we really wanted to make an argument about live interactions,
we got more widgets
or live,
and
that live
activities
more,
and feature? Now they're on the lock screen. But no, that's not the spirit of the pick was actual widgets that you can interact with. Now we get the live activities notifications, but those are called notifications and not widgets, even though they look like widgets. And
the only one that was interactive was the now playing live activity, but that really just replaced what we already had with the now playing.
And so this is where screen. This is where we get into the fact that Apple just forgets how English works from time to time. And we've had the argument about the iPhone and the iPad. And this is where the word widget just doesn't mean anything anymore. They just use it as they see fit across multiple things. So, yeah. What I meant for this pick did not come true, so I do not get it.
Okay. I mean, I'm willing to go with the letter of the pick versus the spirit of the pick, but...
No, I'm not.
And this is why you lose.
No. When we get to another pick, we will have the same argument, and I will win.
All right, so we
want to just real quick, just as I don't know how the sausage is made here. Do we want to talk at all about the OSs, or do we want to save that for?
I was kind of hoping that we could just get through the predictees and then we'd see how much time we have left, because I don't want this to be like a 3-hour episode.
Yeah, so I got to go mow my lawn.
Yeah, so. Very nice. So for iPad OS, I had multitask enhancements, more apps per space, resizable.
I wasn't even mad that you got this one right.
No, I know you were, because I was so excited.
I was like, oh my God, it's happening. Yeah.
So I got a point for that.
You sure did.
But you got a point for yours. Go ahead.
True external display support. Amen. Hallelujah.
It looks good too.
Here, folks. It is a ton of fun, and it is super buggy.
And somebody went out and bought an iPad so he could do it.
I traded mine in. I traded my 2020 non M1 chip iPad in for the iPad Pro, the 11-inch iPad Pro with the M1 chip. Okay. And I did do that.
Now, we should say, just for those of you, just in case we don't get to it later, those two features both require the M1 chip, and the iPad Pro or the iPad Air has a model with the M1 chip in it. So,
well, the stage manager.
The stage manager, I mean, both of these are related to the stage manager thing. And the external display support, you can still do the old janky stuff on non-M1s, but you don't get all the fancy new features for that part.
There's a whole bunch of people on the internet that are angry about it.
At first I had a little FOMO on this one, and then I realized I don't use my iPad that way anyway. So when am I going to ever plug it into an external display and like move windows around when I'm sitting right in front of the only TV I would do that on is the one that's sitting off to my right now at my desk. And I barely ever do anything with that one. I was watching the keynote on Monday, I had Twitter up over there, but that was just a running display board of Twitter all through the whole thing. So it wasn't really like I was interacting with it a whole lot. But I never use that I very rarely use that for another computer screen. And And I'm certainly not going to plug my iPad mini into it just so that I can use what I have right in front of me already on my 27-inch iMac. So I don't know. I love that you're getting that, and I love that this is out into the world right now, but it's not something that I see myself ever really using, because I'm just not iPad is just not my main, it's not a work machine for me. So
Did you see the picture I sent you last night?
I did. Actually have it on my laptop over here.
You can
So
run, if you have an external display with an M1 iPad Air or Pro, you can have 8 apps open at once, 4 on each screen. And then however many, on the side and Stage Manager ready to flip in. It's now 4 apps open on an 11-inch iPad Pro, way too many.
yeah.
But on my 24-inch 4K monitor, plenty of room for the kids to go swimming.
It does. It really looks nice,
Yeah.
on the external display.
And to your point about it not fitting in your workflow, for me, it's like there's a reason I've been wanting this for so long, because I use my iPad probably 5 to 7 times more than I use my MacBook Air. Like my MacBook Air only exists for podcasting, video, and photo editing, and then running some music stuff at church on Sundays when I'm on stage. Other than that, I'm using my iPad all the time. And so now it really has become this modular computer where I can use it as a tablet on the couch or whatever. I can throw it in the Magic Keyboard if I want it as a laptop at a coffee shop here, whatever. And then I have a stand next to my external display that I can plug it in when I want to do, all sorts of stuff. So it fits my preferred usage 100% now, because I have that option now to sit down at my desk, have multiple displays, and just really go to town on whatever it is that I'm doing. Whether that's research and prep for Bible study, or looking through my week. Like yesterday, I sat down and I had my task manager and my calendar open on my external display with some other stuff, and it was just able to plan today. And it is incredibly buggy right now, and they have a lot to fix in Stage Manager, but holy crap, I'm in love.
Yeah.
It's awesome, and I can only anticipate how much more I'm going to enjoy it come the full release in September, when they have gotten a ton of feedback from users and developers of like, hey, great idea, super janky right now. Like it's crashed on me multiple times. And a lot of it is too third-party widgets don't know how to interact with the different sizes yet, because but it does some weird stuff because Apple's opinionated and they think it should be done a certain way. And so I feel like a lot of this feedback is going to do to this what the feedback did to Safari last year.
Sure.
So all right, I've talked too much. I know we were going to try and save some of that talk for later, but I got excited.
Watch OS. Current watch faces updated. So now this is one that I kind of struggled with a little bit to give myself the point for, until I realized that a lot of the original watch faces are going to be getting the rich complications that they haven't had up to this point. So those are the newer complications that came from about the Apple Watch 4, Series 4 forward. So they're the nicer, prettier looking ones that than the ones that they originally had. So there was update. So I'm sorry, I haven't been doing this, and I've been a bad podcast host. I got that one. So so, and you go ahead with yours.
New workout types and or metrics. Hit that bell, Mitchell.
Oh, I'll do it twice for you.
3 new running form metrics and new ways to set heart zones, repeats of work and recovery sections in your workout, in-run alerts, multi-sport workout for triathletes. Like, I got this one any way you could slice it.
Right.
So,
and when you pick that, I tell you, I was thinking, man, he's not going to get that.
well, you even asked me, you're like what new metrics or workout types could there even, and you want a Tai Chi, right?
I want a Tai Chi, yeah. But yeah, I was like, man, I don't know if he's going to get that. So, but, TVOS, I think we need 2 of these.
Or how about one of these?
They didn't even mention it.
I know.
Well, they released I don't know if they released a news release on this or what it was, but they did say that there were going to be some minor updates to it, but obviously nothing worth talking about in the keynote. So, Mac OS.
Hold on.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Did you have more to say?
No, I mean, I knew that I had more to say. I knew that my pick for widgets would have been insane had I gotten it. They updated the home app on iOS and Mac OS, but they didn't put it on the TV. I literally screamed at my computer when this happened. I was like, you have got to be kidding me. This is such low-hanging fruit. Everyone knows why I'm upset about this. I will save that for another day. But
so I have a proposal. I have a proposal for next year. We both make sure we both have the day off of work, and we get on Zoom and we record all of our reactions to the event.
Share play, bro. Come on.
Oh, let's do it on share play. You betcha. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
And we'll yell at the presenters. So
yeah, let's carry on before I get angry again.
Yep. Just so you picked the widgets, I picked that there would be a springboard redesign. Basically that the because I'd heard that was rumored, that they're working on a redesign of the main screen, which is why I thought your widgets was plausible, because it only makes sense that they would just update that, right? But anyway, Mac OS. I thought that Mac OS Mammoth or Sequoia were strong contenders, and I still think that they could use these. But we did not get Mammoth or Sequoia, so we got Mac OS Ventura.
You mean Mac OS Ace Ventura?
Or Mac OS the Body Ventura.
Yeah, that was that. When you sent me that got me good. I was like, okay, because immediately I went to Ace Ventura because great movie. But yeah, Mac OS the Body Ventura is really good too.
And your pick, major overhaul of mail, books, and chess. Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen of the court, please arise for the Honorable Judge Cam Brennan. We are here to debate. Because this one is in red with a big fat 0 next to it. And I'd like to draw your attention to Exhibit A, mail.
I couldn't remember if we said you had to get 2 out of the 3 of these or not.
No, there's an or there. Okay. Yeah. Now, this may preclude in the future me getting 3 options in one pick, but I'm going to take it today.
So here's my my other question about this is the term major overhaul. Because to me, adding a few features is not a major overhaul.
Oh, well, in the keynote, the guy whose name I don't remember said the words complete redesign of mail, including undo send, scheduled send, follow-up suggestions, remind me later, search that has completely been rebuilt using the latest technologies on Mac, iOS, and iPad OS. Boom. Biggest update to mail in years. Give me that point. Hit that bell. Hit that bell. Hit that bell. He said it on screen. Complete redesign. Search rebuilt from the ground up. Folks, it's green. He's so mad. He's so
I'm
mad.
so upset.
So, but here's okay. So, listeners, I'm really excited. I need to calm down. Before the show, I saw this was red and I got really, really excited because I took screenshots of tweets from Federico and then a screenshot of Mac Rumors websites talking about how Mail had been completely rebuilt. And it said ... for iOS. And then I got and that's why I was like, oh crap, I'm not going to get this. So I did a little Googling and I found out that it's also on Mac or on the Mac. And I went to my actual notes and saw that it was in the Mac OS section. And I took all these notes and then I was redeemed. And Mitch is very mad right now.
I wouldn't say mad. I would say annoyed.
You know what? The look on your face is you want to smack me. Is the look on your face. And that's fair because I think I'm being a little obnoxious. So
I'm a little annoyed. That's all.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
All right. New or updated app. So I thought I'd picked this on a whim. Honestly, I was like, well, messages. They like to do stuff with messages. And then I got a whole lot of stuff with messages. So that's a big ding right there. So
yeah, what part was this part of iOS? The iOS section that they
think so.
You can now edit messages and undo message and you can mark as unread. Yeah. Very cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean they basically opened up all the things that people wanted. Not to mention they also, you used to only be able to do SharePlay through FaceTime. You can now do that in messages. So you don't have to be looking at each other.
Yeah,
I think that's a solid. And now the reason that's cool, because SharePlay will allow you to play and pause, and you basically, that translates to the other person's TV as well, or video or whatever you're watching. So like if you and I don't know that this would ever happen, but you and I were like, oh, we should watch the new Kenobi together. And so we both pull Obi-Wan Kenobi up on Disney Plus, and we share play with each other. Now I don't know if you can share play with Disney Plus. I haven't really looked into it, but we share play with each other. We can text now instead of having to be on a live video chat. And
naturally we both start the conversation with hello there.
Hello there. I have that here and I don't have it ready. Never mind, I'm gonna have to pass on that. So anyway, why that's cool is, let's say I got to get up and use the restroom real quick. I pause it and it pauses on your TV as well, and so I can get up, take care of my business, come back and start it up again, and we're both at the same spot in the video. So when we're chatting, you don't like spoil something for me because it hasn't happened yet on my side. So I think that that's really the power of share play. It's not so much that you can talk with each other while you watch it or whatever, but you can do that. But you can do that in messages now instead of having to be on FaceTime. So very cool.
Yeah.
I thought that was a nice addition. Updated health app. I gave you this point because they talked about the sleep enhancements. So that's going to play into the. Oh wait, is that going to play into the health app? Yeah, that does. Yeah, so I think that's the only thing.
They had the AFib history stuff.
Oh yeah. Yep. And I think medications is probably going to be part of that medication
and
stuff
medications too
in WatchOS.
Will tie into the health app as well. So.
And if we got time, we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But yeah, so we both got points on those.
Huzzah!
All right, first wild card, Mac Pro announced. How do we get an M2 MacBook Air, an M2 MacBook Pro 13-inch with the touch bar, but we don't get Mac Pro? What is going on?
Because I bet they're saving the Mac Pro for like the M2 Max and M2 Ultra. Like it's going to be bonkers.
Yeah, I can see your
but
point
it's
there.
funny. But I get your point too. Like they teased it at the very end of their last event,
Right?
And they have now since announced 2 new computers before that one they've already teased.
So
Who
I
knows?
think
Who knows if it got delayed because of chip shortages or uh, supply chain, this whatever. But
yeah. So I
who knows?
yeah, I'm pretty sure there's probably supply chain conversation to have with this. Because they don't want to announce it and then ship it like a year and a half from now. So, all right. So I get a for that one, and you put in 2 app demos, and I didn't know how to score this one exactly. I'm pretty sure you didn't get this one, so it's up to you to make the case.
Oh, is that why
you
it's
get?
yellow?
Yeah, that's why
No.
it's
So
yellow.
if we remember, I said this was the part where they bring someone from a third party out to be like, oh, because of metal, we can do blah blah blah, or because of whatever. And they only did one. They did the Resident Evil guy that was he spoke in Japanese the whole time.
Yeah.
Which I love it.
Which I sent you an emoji.
Yeah, you were bored. But my favorite thing about that, and this happens too with quite a few of the folks at our church that whose first language is Spanish, is like they'll be in like a really like like back and forth like excited conversation, and then just every once in a while English words pop up in this stream of Spanish, and that happened a couple times in this and his Japanese, and that always cracks me up.
Yeah,
it's like just to me, gibberish. Obviously not. I just don't know Japanese, so it's just incomprehensible. And then there's a word I know, and then incomprehensible. And, another word I know. Like it's just a fun little game, and it cracks me up. And it means I think it just means I'm a child, but it gives me little bits of pleasure because it's just funny. I did not get this one. There was one. I as soon as he came out, I was like, crap. There's only going to be one. Why did I pick 2?
Yeah.
So yeah, no point for me.
All right, buddy, you got to go over here. My boy was laying in my lap, and he decided not to lay in my lap anymore. All right, so we're gonna give you a no on that one. All right, this next one I was really surprised that I didn't get this because it seemed like this was really low hanging fruit for the presentation.
Yeah,
but the live audience will be seen on the live stream. Didn't happen.
Which is, to your point, I thought this was a slam dunk.
This was such an opportunity for them to be like, look what we're doing. Like, look, this was such a great opportunity for self-promotion. And it just totally didn't happen. So, all right.
My pick was new multitasking features in iPad OS. Not resizable.
So I cannot give you the points for that.
No, this is a 2-point swing, right? Because you got it and I did not. But we'll talk about an even bigger swing in a different pick later on. So yeah, I did not get this one. Am I happy to have not gotten this one? Yeah, because it's more than what I thought we were going to get.
Yeah.
So
I think you and I both envisioned like a tiled interface with just more apps tiled. Where what we ended up getting was a what would be a window interface. So
yeah, I'm cool with it.
So
yeah,
I still wish we had a great sound effect for this pick, but this is our Buck Wild card pick. Buck Wild
card.
So I'm gonna go to yours first. Craig Federighi wore a blue shirt. Man,
he sure did.
He always wears
first
blue
thing
shirts.
On my I know, but first thing on my note sheet, first line, Craig has a blue shirt. Nailed it.
Who doesn't love Craig Federighi though?
Oh my god, dude!
He was so much fun.
the basketball jumpsuit
That was terrible.
and his very much dad form when he shot the ball. Or like there was the one where he's like walking like strutting, and his like hair. Like he's become a caricature of himself, and I absolutely love it.
Would it not be hilarious if he ended up CEO after Tim leaves?
Well, so the other thing that I've heard, and I think it was Mike Hurley talking about it. He thinks it's going to be John Turnus.
John Turnus, I can see
the guy that does the Mac presentation of the hardware.
The argument is that they would want somebody younger, because a lot of these guys are not that much younger than Tim Cook, so they wouldn't.
I think John's probably like early 40s.
Oh yeah, John definitely is much younger than Craig Federighi and some of the other guys. So, I mean, you don't want a CEO that's going to be in there for 3-4 years and then leave. You want somebody that's got 10 years in position or better.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway. My pick was hilarious because Tim Cook wears a Pride watch band.
He had long sleeves on the whole time.
Long sleeves on in the keynote, and it made me so mad. It's like he probably has it on right now, but you can't see it. So, why did I get the point?
24-hour rule.
So 24-hour rule. He was seen he came to the Steve Jobs Theater for the hands-on event for the MacBook Air, and there were pictures of him with his Apple Pride band on his Apple Watch. So I get the point because of the 24-hour rule. So
yep.
All right.
Last one. Drum roll.
Our annual Predicties pick. This is the pick that we wager how many points we think we're going to get on this one, from 1 to 3 points. And we have to, what we do is we pull a pick from our annual Predicties to say that we think this is going to happen in this event. So I selected more widget interaction. And I wagered 3 points on this because I thought this was was like low hanging fruit. This has got to happen, and
so that's the huge point swing, because I also predicted that, but it was only for 1 point. So I didn't get a point, and you lost 3.
I lost 3 points. Yep.
This swung the entire thing.
This is the reason that I lost.
And my annual Predicties pick that I thought was going to happen at this event was the AR/MR headset is discussed. And obviously there was zero mention of this.
No mention at all.
Just like tvOS. And I remember being when we did our last show, very unsure of how many points to wager on this.
Yeah.
And I eventually was like, okay, I'm just going to go with 2. I'm not super confident, but I'm like, I just kind of shot the middle ground. And that has saved my skin.
Yeah. But I still have to do this.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I got it wrong. That's fine. So that is all of our picks.
Yeah.
And we have total
time.
scores, Mitch. We have total scores.
Total scores?
Yes.
Mitch ends up with 2 points. Cam, 3 points.
Yes. And as my first act as WWDC Predicties champion is to give myself the title of benevolent predictator. That is the title I shall be going with.
Benevolent predictator.
Dude, that's
absolute genius. I can't be mad at that.
That's why when I saw that I could argue for the mail, I was like, oh my God, I can win. And I've been sitting on this for like 4 days. I was in the shower on like Tuesday, and I was like, we got to have a name for the winner of this. And then I was like, of course, because I'm in the shower, great idea just pops in. I was like, oh my God, benevolent predictator. This is
that totally makes up for the how terrible the Predicties name is. I like it. All right.
So yes, that is the name that
benevolent predictator. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we've got time, so why don't we talk about the rest of the event? I'm gonna shuffle this window out of the way here, and all right. So in iOS 16, we got new lock screen customizations, and we touched on this a little bit earlier. I really like this.
Dude,
This looks
it's
really
cool.
cool. Yeah.
I've got a couple on my phone, and it's really neat.
hmm
Um,
I would
the
say what really excites me is to really look through some of these special ones that they made, like the weather one and some of the other ones. I don't know that I'll actually use them, but the fact that they've got them in there, like the astronomy one where you unlock it and the moon trans or the sun or the earth transitions down and then your apps come on and it's just man, it just looks really neat. So,
Yeah, and it's I mean, like I said earlier, the way that you customize them is the exact same way you do it on the Apple Watch. You know, you
mhm,
long press on the screen, it pops up with the customizer. You can swipe back, left and right. Um, and then they have that depth effect, like where you can like the
mhm,
picture of the person or the dog. And in my case, I've got one where I've got this awesome like mountain from the Himalayas,
yeah,
and the numbers are hiding just behind it. And it's got the weather, and I'm like, it's just, dude, it looks so good. And there's 6 different font choices for the UI elements. You can have one widget above the time next to the date, and then you can
mhm,
fit up to 3 underneath the time. And you can control the colors. There's a whole palette of colors, or then there's the custom color option too. So you can tweak it to either match your screen or contrast it, however you want. You can set the opacity of it too. So it's really really neat. And then you can, if you have the 3 widgets on the underneath the time, you don't really get the depth effect as well.
yeah.
But if you just have the time in the top bar, you can pinch to zoom on the picture, and then as you get close, it like pops it up. It's super cool, man. I love it.
I have a picture of the Black Spires and Millennium Falcon from Galaxy's Edge that I'm really looking forward to trying with this feature to see if maybe I can just get the Black Spire to kind of cut off a little bit of the time, and I think that'll be look really cool. So we'll see what happens, but I'm looking forward to that. I have that as a wallpaper on all of my devices except for my iPhone. So because it doesn't really fit on the orientation of the screen very well.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm super excited about that. The wallpaper gallery again, two of the faces that they showed on there that have like additional features or like they're just, you know, the weather one where if it's raining outside, it'll rain on your phone. If it's whatever the weather is kind of reflected by the live wallpaper. So I think that that's really really neat. The notifications are being shrunk down to the bottom instead of filling up the screen.
It's
Um,
amazing.
I'm
It's
digging
so
that.
good. It's so good.
hmm
Because like you can see your most current ones, and then if you choose to, you can flick them up, and then you get back to the old.
hmm
But they're just, I mean, it's
So nice because now you,
why have we not had this? Yeah, it's one of
yeah,
those. It's just like, dude, this is a no brainer, man.
and you swipe them down and they disappear, right? They just go
Uh
down
huh.
to just a little, like it's all say 10 notifications on the bottom.
Yeah, it's
hmm
it's so much better.
Have you had an opportunity to see the live activities yet? Uh,
Uh, only with um, only with music,
yeah. So
because there's no third parties that are. I'm not on any betas for third parties yet.
correct. Yeah, that's going to take a
So
little while for that third party support. But the live activities for those that haven't seen it is basically like the way they demoed it in the video was there was a sports score, and rather than getting spammed with all of these score changed, if you watch a football game or you have a football game on the ESPN app or on the NFL app, you get a notification every time there's a score. Instead of having that, it puts it into a little box on the bottom of your lock screen that just shows you the score and whatever other information that they have in there, and then that updates live. So if you want to know what the score is, you just look down at your phone. I hope that there's still an option for getting the notifications. I don't know that you've had the opportunity to see if that how that works, but I would really love to see them still offer those notifications, because if I'm at work and there's a game, it's kind of nice to have it hit my watch and then just be able to look down and see, oh, so and so scored, instead of having to think about it and be like, oh, let me pull my phone out of my pocket and look at my phone to see what the score is. So that would just be nice, but we'll see what happens.
I hope there's a way to just turn it off for sports for me.
Yeah.
Because like if I'm not watching the game, I don't want to know the score. Because that means
Oh,
like
that's true
if I'm
too.
if I'm
Hmm.
interested enough in a game and I'm not able to watch it live, I don't want to know the score because I'm gonna
Hmm.
watch it later.
Yeah.
So I better be able to just say, no, no, no live notifications at all. Cut it out. I don't want to know.
Yeah, and when a lot of times when we like the Packers are playing in Monday Night Football or something like that, like I don't ever go back and watch that game. I just because I'm going to know the score before I leave work anyway. So, or at least where the score is at. So, and at that point, it's kind of worthless to go back and watch it. So to have those notifications for me is kind of nice. So I get where you're coming from, but and
Yeah,
on
just
on a
total personal
Sunday,
preference. Yeah.
yeah, and on a Sunday, if I'm getting out of church a little late and we pop over to Walmart and somebody ruins the score for me, then I don't end up starting from the beginning when I get home. I end up starting from wherever they are live. And so yeah. Anyway, the other thing that I've got in my document here for updates is there was a bunch of updates for Focus. So
Yes.
you can link your lock screens to your Focus, whatever
Yes.
focus
This is
mode you're in.
uh-huh.
So now if you have like for work, you have a specific, maybe you don't want the picture of your kids on your phone for work, but you want it for for outside of work. During
Hmm.
work, you can have a different wallpaper and design and whatever for that lock screen. And then when you get out of work, whether it's tied to geolocation or if you have it set for times, now you walk out of work. I walk out of work at 9 o'clock at night, and boom, the picture of my kids, or I don't have kids yet, but picture of my wife or whatever personal picture I have that I want on the lock screen is there instead of whatever I replaced it with during work. And that I believe translates over to the complications and stuff like that you put on those screens as well.
Exactly.
So, if I don't really have a job where I have to deal with a lot of email, but if that were the case, then I could have an email widget on the screen for work and then it would go away when I'm not at work. So,
Yeah, and so now with Focus, you can control your home screens, which you've always been able to have. So you can
mhm,
have different home screens per focus. You can now have
correct.
different lock screens per focus. So you can have, and those lock screens, like you said, can have different widgets, different colors, different backgrounds, different
Hmm.
fonts. Like all the customizations carry over to the Focus. So now, based on your Focus, you can have. There's also Focus filters, which they added this
Yep.
year,
I
which
was going to get
means
to that here in a second.
you
Hmm.
can set uh, people groups and messages. You can set calendars and calendar. You can set email accounts in mail, and you can set tab groups in Safari
Hmm.
per focus.
Yep.
So that with those three things, the app controls, which that's going to go to third parties as well too,
Hmm.
is that business.
Yeah,
So
there's an API for that.
you can have between the focus filters, the lock screens, and the home screens, you can essentially completely alter your phone automatically based on, as you said, geolocations, times, that sort of stuff, so that your phone matches the context in which you are currently, which is
Hmm.
super, super cool. That you now have such granular control over how it looks, what's available, who can contact you, what apps can notify you, what email accounts can or can't, and it's full control over how you want your phone to uh, exist based on context. Um, And so I messed with this a little bit, and I've got a what I call just my weekend focus, and I've got a lock screen for it. I've got a tab group for it. That's just stuff that like I want to catch up on over the weekend. So I just throw it into my weekend tab group, and then
Mhm.
boom, when I open Safari, it opens that tab group for me. And it's like, oh, here's the stuff that I wanted to check out this weekend. Um, and I've got a different setup of widgets and apps on my home screen that are more focused on weekend stuff. So like taking pictures and videos, reading, messages, which I never have on my home, like Discord, just like stuff that like is I have more free time on the weekend. So this is the stuff I'm most likely to use
Mhm.
on the weekend. And then, Monday morning when I wake up, it's going to go back to my regular um, setup. So it's just like I watched my phone at 5 o'clock on Friday and it just flipped over to the new focus mode. I was like, oh, this is so cool.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for that focus filters to get expanded, as time goes. But it's because I never really was into focus modes before.
Yeah.
But this has me playing with it a lot more. And now I've got a couple that I'm like, oh, I can use this and I can do that. And
So what
it's fun.
I heard, I can't remember what podcast it was that I heard this last week, but they likened it to eliminating the need for the work phone because now you have a work phone built into your personal phone. Because especially like with mail, you don't see your personal mail while you're at work. You don't have to see your work mail while you're at home. It's like having you literally can have as many phones as you want all in one phone.
Yeah, it's real fun.
Yeah.
I like it. It's good stuff.
So I'm excited to try it. I'm gonna wait for the public betas just because I can't afford to plunk down $100 to be a developer and download the developer builds. And it would all be on my main devices too, and I'm a little bit leery about that. Has the stability been good on iOS?
My iPhone's been fine. It's the iPad that's
Yeah,
crashed, I think, 3 times, but that was all around Stage Manager stuff.
yeah. And
So,
new features, I think, are gonna
well,
have
and
issues.
I expected that. But I I've never had the developer beta on my phone before.
Hmm.
Um, but I did an iCloud backup right before I did it. So if it freaks out, I can always do
Hmm.
that. But it's no, my iPhone's been totally fine.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on here. We talked about messages earlier. I don't think we need to reiterate that point. You can edit messages, undo send, mark on red. How did you get excited about the mark on red feature in messages?
No, but I
I've
could totally see why people would.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that this is the one feature they've been waiting for. I don't really get it. I don't need it for anything, but I appreciate that other people do. You know, people that use their inbox as their to-do list, you know,
Hmm.
and I think that's what it comes down to. I just don't do that. So,
Yeah, there was one thing that I wanted to mention about messages real quick is
yeah.
the new dictation features
Oh, I was going to get to
where they
dictation next. Yeah.
oh, okay, cool. But they leave the keyboard open while you're dictating now, so you
Mhm.
can easily jump in and start typing something. Or which I thought was really cool is you can highlight words like you
Yep.
would, and then you just start talking and it replaces the highlighted words with what you dictate, and it's just like, man, that's just clever.
Yeah, my wife uses the dictation stuff a lot, so I think she would really get into that. Just being able to, okay, well, you know what, I've got this word that I just used that it does not get right. I can just tap that out real quick and then continue dictating.
Hmm.
And I think that'll be a cool feature for her. The automatic punctuation, I think, is interesting. It must be listening to the inflection in your voice. That's the only way I can think that they're figuring this out, or the words that are used. Obviously, if you say, "Well, what time do you want to meet?" It's
Exclamation point.
yeah. There's got to be a question mark on the end of that because you started with the word "what." You are also in inflection. You might say, "Well, what time did you want to meet?" Or however it's inflected might indicate. And it may be way simpler than that, but that's the couple of things that I could think of that it's listening for.
Yeah.
So Do you have much to say about the app intents? I'm not sure that I necessarily understand what they were talking about with app intents. It had something to do with Siri and how the developers were integrating Siri into their apps.
Oh, I didn't even take notes on that.
Okay.
So that tells you how much I care
Well,
about it.
my notes said app intents, and then I moved right on to the next thing. So there was nothing else in there. There's some enhancement to live text that now has live text in video. So if you are watching a video, that the example that they used, if you're watching a video teaching you about like coding something, you can pause it and actually copy the text that's on the screen and put it into your app and play with it. Um, I think that seems really cool. I've got quick actions as the next bullet point in here, and I'm
Well,
trying to
there's
remember.
also real quick in live text.
Yeah.
There's translation in there too.
Oh
So
no,
like,
that's coming up. They talked about quick actions right after the video thing, and I'm
oh,
trying to
see,
remember what that.
I didn't write that down either.
Yeah, but the camera view in the Translate app is much like the Google what do they call it? Google Lens feature, where you could put the camera up to like a stop sign that was in a different language, and it would tell you it's a stop sign. Not that you need it because you can tell it, um but I think it was Casey on ATP this last week was talking about how they went to like this French restaurant and their entire menu was in French or German or something like that, and so they used Google Lens to take a picture of that, and it translated the whole menu. And it's like there was some problematic translations and stuff like that weren't quite understandable, but for the most part, you could at least make out what the different meals were and stuff like that by translating it into English. So this would be a cool feature for just kind of handling some of those issues. And because it's a developer event, there's a live text API, so people are going to be able to integrate live text into their apps as well. So that should be interesting to see what developers do with that.
I wonder what Carrot Weather's going to do with that. he always finds really, really clever ways to integrate stuff into his app that no one would expect to be in a weather app.
James Thompson too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, can you imagine putting him in
PCalc with live text? No. Oh my gosh. You could point PCalc at your math homework and it could solve the problem for you. Oh, let's go, James. Get on it, buddy. My fellow awesome. Scott, get on it. Let's go.
That's awesome. I was thinking about how he's going to incorporate it into Dice by PCalc.
Oh, well.
But you could use physical dice and it could read the dice.
Well, can it read? It's not text on dice unless your dice says 1.
Yeah.
Like actually has the word written out.
Yeah, figure it out.
I bet those exist, but anyways, yeah.
I had something when I was going back through my notes, because I wrote all my notes out and then I typed them all out. I had something called visual lookup. I don't remember this.
So this is where he grabbed the dog from a picture.
Oh, right.
And pulled the dog out from the background, and then he dropped it in messages and just sent a picture of his dog with no background.
Right. No, that is awesome.
And it works. Like I had a picture of my daughter that I took the other day by the river in portrait mode, and it's a really, really, really good picture because the sun was kind of not like setting, but was coming down. Just overall just very pretty. And I was able to grab her and pull her out. Now I was doing it on my iPhone, so I had nowhere to take her to. But I was like, oh my gosh. It even got like her hair, which was blown in the wind, and it's real curly, So
yeah, her hair is a non-trivial thing to work around, for that.
Exactly. So. Yeah, I mean, it was blown in the wind, and so it was pretty cool. I don't know really how useful it's going to be, but
it would seem really fun to be able to just pick any picture out of anything like that out of a picture and throw it into a message.
Well, it almost seems to me like like a sticker feature
Mhm.
for real things. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's a couple of pictures of like I've got one of my daughter, my parents, don't ask why, have my dad built a 7-foot tall T-Rex and like a 10-foot long Triceratops out of wood for my sister's wedding a couple years ago, and they've been in my parents' backyard ever since.
Yeah.
Just it don't whatever. It's just there. And so there was a picture I got last summer of my daughter sprinting away from the T-Rex like she was terrified. She did it all on her own. All on her own. And so I was taking, and I was able to snap. I got it perfect. She's running and her face is just pure terror. And the T-Rex is in the background. I'll have to send it to you. It's
Oh, I'd love to see
hysterical.
that. That sounds hilarious.
But I imagine pulling her like running scared out of that and then just sending that as like a sticker as a reaction to something in a message would be hysterical.
Yeah.
And just so I think my usage of it will be much more in a sticker gif sort of reaction to things than to do anything serious.
The unfortunate thing that I've heard at this point is that you can't use it as a sticker.
Right.
It would be used as a cropped image, sort of. But I can see a future where they put a sticker pack in messages that's just all of those things. Like you hold down on that, it crops it out, and then you select sticker from that, and then it collects it into your own sticker pack. So I could like that.
Yeah. So I'm about to send you the T-Rex picture.
Sure.
And I'm gonna send the caption I put with it when I posted it to Instagram. Because I thought it was pretty clever.
Well, while you're doing that, I'll move on to Wallet. There's just a handful of things in Wallet that they rolled out. Driver's license. They mentioned that there's 2 states, Maryland and Arizona, that it's already rolled out, and then I'll get to that in just a second. I got it. Keys. They've got more automakers that are going to be supporting the keys in Apple Wallet. You'll be able to share keys with people, which I hope it doesn't become problematic. It would be nice to my wife is, I locked myself out of the car, and and then you just send her the key, which I would think she'd have the key already, but who you're going to send those keys to, I'm not entirely sure. Unless it's like you can share the key for like 4 hours and your teenage daughter is taking the car, and after that 4 hours it times out, and so if she's late getting home from the concert she went to or whatever, now she's got to call you and ask for permission to get the key. That might be a fun little thing to do, but
oh gosh.
but I would think that they would have time limits on sharing, just like they do with like location sharing and stuff like that. But or if you had somebody that needed to borrow the car to be able to share the key with them. Apple Pay got some interesting updates. The tap to pay feature. So now if you're running a farmer's market, you're at the farmer's market selling some stuff and you want to use tap to pay on your phone. I'm not sure how this is going to set up, if you have to use like Square or one of the payment companies to do that, or if that's just going to go.
No, it's built right into Apple Pay.
Is it? Okay. So you'll be able to accept payment that way. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm personally excited about this because I have I've got a Square card tap chip reader deal for my photography and videography stuff, and they take a percentage.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to see if this works and if Apple takes a percentage, which they didn't mention, and I'm assuming they will take, so who knows what it's going to be, but to be on at a shoot instead of someone like, having to Venmo me the cash or taking it through my Square thing or them writing me a check or whatever, they can just tap my phone and boom, we're done. So
that picture's pretty good, by the way. I like it. All right. I think the other thing that they talked about, Apple Pay Later, is interesting.
Yeah, sounds dangerous to me.
What kind of befuddles me about this is that this is really set up to basically take money out of your next, what is it, 4 or 3 paychecks. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you pay now for the first payment, and then every 2 weeks you are supposed to pay for a quarter of the payment
Mhm.
until the 6 weeks is
6
up.
a week.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So basically it's set up for like, if you get a paycheck every other week, we want this much money out of that paycheck, so you can kind of spread it out
Yep.
over your paychecks. It doesn't literally take the money out of your paycheck. It's more of like, okay, now it's due, so you have to pay your $46 for
Mhm.
this thing. But what is interesting about this is that is not just Apple products, which
It's anything that
it's
you buy with Apple Pay.
it's pretty much anything that, yeah, it's anything that you can put through Apple Pay. I would assume that there's a dollar amount requirement. So if it's over
I'm gonna put this Pepsi on Apple Pay later. We require your 37 cents today.
so
Ah,
you know
never
it's-
tasted so sweet.
we go, and I say Walmart, but Walmart doesn't take Apple Pay. So
Yeah.
yeah. But you go somewhere that does take Apple Pay, and say we want to get a Lego model that's $60, and it will spread $15 every 2 weeks for us to be able to buy that Lego model. So it's an interesting idea. I like it. It also has order tracking in it, so they're partnering with Shopify to start.
Mhm.
And Shopify is a good one because they really own this space online. There's been so much that I've ordered that Shopify does all the order tracking for me. So this is a good first partner in this, but it's not complete. I really think that they need to be getting deals with UPS and FedEx and a lot of those that to tie this order tracking into Apple Pay. But we'll get there. I think they'll work on that a little at a time and get that taken care of. The only problem that I see with this is that FedEx and UPS and even USPS is making it more and more difficult for apps like Parcel and deliveries and stuff like that to tie in. So I think that they may not want you to use something like this. So we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll get what we want, and maybe we won't. So, but it'll be interesting. We'll keep an eye on that. The next thing they talked about was maps. And the only thing that I got excited about this is they finally are including multi-stop routing.
Yes, this gets an applause.
Yeah. Yeah. So, or a big ding. So. But multi-stop routing, I used that in Waze before, and you'll be able to ask Siri when you're en route to add stuff too. So I don't know how it's going to work exactly right now, because I know back when I was using Waze all the time, if you needed to get gas, you just went in there and selected the gas icon, and then it would show you the gas stations that were coming up on your route. And so you pick one, maybe depending on what the cost of the gas is or something like that. You just pick one, and then it would route you off the highway to stop and get gas, and then route you right back onto the highway, and you keep going. What I have found severely lacking in Apple Maps is that if you need to get gas while you're en route, basically you got to watch your signs, pull off the highway. If you want to mess around with this I don't recommend this, but if you want to mess around with this in the car while you're driving, they don't make it easy. It's like, oh, I need gas, and it's like, well, here's like 20 places that you can get gas from that are within 100-mile radius of you. But it's like, well, I just want to know what's up at the next stop.
And one of the options is Taco Bell.
Well, there was one time where I did this to see, where's like the closest Quick Trip. Oh, well, there's Quick Trips all over. It's like those are 100 miles away. I need one at the next stop. What's at the next stop? You know what route I'm taking. What's at the next stop? So that's something that I feel like is low hanging fruit for a maps update, but hopefully this multi-stop routing will improve this. Because if I say, hey, Dingus, can you, or where's the next Quick Trip? Then, which is a gas station that we have up here. I don't know if you have them down there, but they're all over up here.
We had them in Kansas. They're glorious.
Yeah, I like my Quick Trips. And you say that, then they're like, oh, at the next stop there is a Quick Trip, and then it automatically routes you to that Quick Trip, and then routes you back onto the highway, much like Waze did. So I think this will be really cool. It'll be useful.
There were 2 other things that I thought were pretty interesting about maps. The transit option now shows the fares, and you can add your transit card to wallet and also reload your transit card from the wallet app. So they're really adding features that people that take transit every day really would benefit from. And there's that, I mean, the tens of millions of people that live in major cities that use transit regularly, I mean, that's a huge win for those people. And I would even benefit from it when I go visit Chicago. You know what I mean? Just be easier that way. And then the other one that I thought is interesting too is that look around, the feature in maps where you can look around the actual area is now available to third parties to show look around data for maps in their apps.
Yeah.
And I think that is an underrated feature that apps could really take advantage of. Showing their location and that sort of stuff. And like this is something that I wonder, again, you know how Carrot Weather has those quests, and then when you find them on the map, like it just pulls up like a Wikipedia article, whatever. He could also pull up the look around data when available, so you could actually see the place that you just discovered.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Hey, I know you're not listening, developer of Carrot Weather, but that would be a good idea.
We got some golden ideas for you, man.
Yeah, man. Put it in your premium membership. You're good.
The next thing they talked about was sports in Apple News.
We like sports, so we don't care who knows.
All right. Anyway, moving on.
You don't know that song? Okay.
I don't know anything. Family sharing.
Just 2 guys, and we're having a good time. It's The Lonely Island and Adam Sandberg?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, it's not worth.
I'm sorry. Now. I'm sorry, man. Don't forget, okay. We're 10 years apart. What was cool for you? I probably have no idea. Family sharing. This I thought was interesting. As a father, I'm not sure what you're thinking about this. With my wife and I looking to do foster care, or foster to adopt, I can see how this might help us out. But these kids' accounts are going to be tied to their age. So the kids' accounts don't exist right now, right? This is a new feature.
They already exist, but they're adding new features to it.
Okay. So you can,
because previously, like you could set time limits and like through screen time, and then set permissions. Like if they want to buy an app, they have to send a parent the request and that sort of stuff. So they've been around for a couple of years.
Okay. No, you're right. So there's age settings that they're adding to this. So you can put in the child's age and then set things appropriately for that age. You can adjust that age as the child gets older, adjust their, what they're allowed to look at and what they're allowed to, to do, based on their age. I'm guessing that as they get older, the iPhone is going to inform you that, hey, your child just had a birthday. Maybe you would like to look at, increasing their permissions or whatever for this. I wouldn't be surprised if that starts to happen.
I think they mentioned something like that, because you can set different age rating levels for like web content, movie content, book content, that sort of stuff. I think they mentioned something about how it's going to age with the kid as well. But yeah, I mean, my daughter's 5, so I'm not worried about any of this right now because
Yeah.
she has my old iPad Air from like 4 years ago, and it has Disney Plus on it and then Duolingo Kids so she can practice her words and her numbers, like, the only 2 apps on it.
Yeah.
So,
There's a quick start setup for new devices, which looks pretty cool. I basically you just tell it what kid you're setting the device up for, and it adjusts all the settings that you've set on other devices for that kid. So I think that just makes the setup process a little easier. One thing I have heard, I know Syracuse talked about this, and a couple others. They talked about this quite a bit on ATP actually. Uh, that Marco and John both said one of the biggest problems they have with the kids, the family sharing stuff, and that's why when you started talking about it, I was like, oh yeah, no, they totally have this feature. Is that it's totally common in their home where they get a notification that the kid wants 10 more minutes or 15 more minutes screen time, and they dismiss it without approving it, and then they basically just yell, "Send it again," and that's just part of their home, So this will be cool. That the screen time requests are now going to go to messages, so that you can actually go into messages and it'll live there, so you can't just dismiss it by accident or whatever. It'll persist there so that you can approve it in right in messages. So that's a nice little improvement.
indeed.
Another huge win for which is okay. So I have to agree with Andy Anatko. He said this on Mac Break Weekly this last week, that it's funny how Apple users get a feature that everyone else has had for years, and we're all like, oh, we have this feature, woo! Instead of, Apple, why have you waited this long to give us this feature? But what I'm talking about is iCloud shared photo library. So in a family, you might want to share photos, right? So like my wife takes a bunch of photos, I take a bunch of photos, and they go to the same library, instead of I take a bunch of photos, my wife takes a bunch of photos, and then I look at her and say, well, hey, I would really like those photos. Could you send me those photos? And then she's got to go through and airdrop them all to me. And it's just a big pain for us. Like this is going to be a really cool feature to be able to just, have shared photos. And not only that, you can choose what you're sharing. So, she doesn't need all my screenshots, you know, so I can eliminate that. I'm not going to end up sharing everything with her, but sharing people, sharing different places. I don't know what the granularity is of the setup for this, but they did talk about people, like, it has, if there's a person in the photograph, then it will share it with the group or the family. So I think this is going to be a cool feature.
Yeah, I'm a little what's the word? Not concerned is too strong. Wary? I don't know. It seems like setting it up and going through and choosing which gets sent and which doesn't and like
It'll be more like
feels like it's going to be a lot of work to get
it'll,
it set up. I think once you get it
mhm.
set up and then it just works, that'll be nice, but like let's say I wanted to set this up, but like go back and share all the photos that I have of my daughter in her 5 years. Like, am I going to have to
Mhm.
scroll through? Now, that's where the people feature might come in, but is people going to be able to tell that my 6-month-old daughter is the same person as my 5-year-old daughter? I don't know. So
You
that's
can,
my one concern.
yeah, you can go in and look at that right now, because you should have your
Well, but I
people
don't have
folder.
it. I don't have it set up to share with anybody, and I don't want to.
But I mean, you can go into your phone and go into people and see what's
Yeah, my
in the
phone's in the
folder
other room. My
with a.
phone's in the other room,
You don't
Mick.
have to do it right now. Good grief.
Okay, sorry.
But you
My
could
bad.
go into photos, look at people, and then dive down into her photos and see, does it have all of her photos from birth all the way up? And if it doesn't, you can go in and add those photos.
Well, now that you say that,
Hmm.
every once in a while I get like those memories notifications, and
Yeah.
there's one that's like Kennedy through the years, and it's got pictures of her. So it must.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Technology's scary
It's
sometimes.
all on device, so you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, that's what they tell you, Mitch. That's what they tell you.
So this is the point in the I saw a lot of comments on Discord and on Twitter about this. Their transition from iCloud Photo Library, which was fun and exciting, into privacy, where all of a sudden Craig got really serious. It was almost comical the way that he went from like, "Hey, I'm dad," to "and now privacy." So the really cool hallmark feature here, and I think I've heard just from, so many people on these podcasts that I've been listening to over the last week, is a safety check. So if a woman is in a relationship, I mean, I suppose this go for men too, but if somebody's in an abusive relationship that they've got to get out of, and they want to just sever all of the shared stuff that they have, so they no longer share location, they no longer share anything, there's going to be basically a single button in safety check to say, disconnect me from all this stuff, and so that they can get out of the situation and they can't be tracked, and it's going to cut off any messages, anything from it, and it'll disconnect them from all their own devices as well. So if you've got your iPhone and you got to get out of the house, you can go through the safety check, disconnect this stuff, and walk away, and there's going to be no way for the abuser to track where you are. So I
Yeah,
think,
through your Apple devices. Yeah.
right.
So this is great.
Hmm.
Super, super good. What I want to know is, how do you prevent an angry teenager from doing this and running away?
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
And so, but I don't know if that's part of the parental controls that they can't access but like, then again, what if the parents are abusive and the kid
Hmm.
needs to get away, but they
Yeah.
can't and so like, that's where I don't know. I don't know enough about how this works
Right.
to understand how someone is or isn't able to do this, because like, obviously if a kid is in an abusive home and needs to get out and get to a police station or get to a friend's house to get away, they need to be able to do that. But if they're also just 14 and pissed at you and decide they want to leave because you won't let them do X, Y, and Z, like, that's the how
Right.
how does that work?
Yeah, what's the granularity of the feature? Yeah, I totally get that.
So yeah, but I think when it works the way it's supposed to work, it's incredible. I just don't know how it navigates those murkier waters where, you know,
Yeah.
perhaps kids are involved, and
Hmm.
then does the parent, like, especially like when there's abusive kids involved, you want the kid to be able to get to safety, but if they can't prove that there's abuse and the adult find, like, it's just, it opens up a whole, and this is real life stuff, right? Like, this
Right.
isn't edge cases. This happens,
Right.
unfortunately, more than we care to imagine that it does.
Well, going through the foster
Oh my
process,
gosh, yeah, I can't
dude,
even
you have no
imagine some
idea
of the stuff.
what I've seen or what
Mhm.
I've heard about. So, no,
Yeah, it's
totally get it.
really awful.
Hmm.
So yeah, like I said, super, super glad that this exists. Very curious to see how it handles some of those less obvious situations.
Hmm. Um, to a happier note, they updated the home app.
Whoop de freaking do.
I thought you would be a little bit more excited about that because they
Well,
really simplified it and improved the design of it.
let me read you in detail my note here. New home app! Exclamation point. Dot dot dot. But not on the Apple TV. All caps. What the crap, Apple! Exclamation point.
Okay, well, I guess that's
Like,
your.
I don't, and I know am I wrong in this, Mitch? Like, this is because you can no longer use iPads as your home hubs anymore
Right.
for your smart stuff. So it's got to be a HomePod Mini, which doesn't have a screen on it,
Mm-hmm.
or your Apple TV, which is connected, generally speaking, to the largest screen in your home. Why can I not control my home from a fully fledged app on my home hub? It makes no sense to me.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you, I think there's a bigger story to the Apple TV, which is why we haven't gotten, we
And
didn't get anything here.
I'm hoping you're right.
Yeah,
And it just hasn't come yet.
I'm hoping that probably the September event that we see why we haven't seen anything about
And so
the Apple TV.
when we were talking about this earlier this episode, I had that thought of like, would they wait until the fall and and then release, not necessarily, I mean, they will call it an update or a new version, but it doesn't change any of the underlying features or code that the apps run on. It just presents a brand new user interface, like we had talked about, that dashboard idea, where we can access our apps, we can access our home, we can see data, we can whatever. And then if we go to our apps, it then takes us to the current UI, which is the scrollable grid of whatever. Now, and if that doesn't change any of the underlying code for the apps, then they don't need to release it at WWDC because the developers don't need to do anything. So they could, I think you're totally right. There could be something more coming that is just a new interface that they build that the developers don't have to necessarily worry about. Now that would also mean that they're not introducing widgets, which fine. If I get a home app and a new dashboard view for the TV, I will dance in the streets.
No, I think the idea of a dashboard app would require widgets or some kind of widget structure.
But they might just be Apple for the first year, and then next year they release like they have done with everything else in the past.
That's fair.
Would be my guess.
But yeah, I see your point. And I think that one of two things. Either there's something big coming that they're holding off for, or they just didn't do anything. They just didn't do much for the Apple TV this time.
Yeah, well, I suppose this depends on if we're optimistic or pessimistic. What we think the case may be.
I mean, I think just from our conversation, we're both optimistic that they're doing something with this. The hardware is really long in the tooth right now and could really use a refresh to get people excited about having new devices in this space. Or they just don't care and they're moving on to something else. And the Apple TV is just languishing. But we've seen this with Apple before. This is a money-making thing for them. Back in the day it was a hobby, as they described it, but it's a money-making thing for them now because of all their services. They need this in their lineup. So I have to think that they've got something. They're brewing something up. They're just not ready to announce anything.
I would hope.
So
I would hope.
The other part of the home app that needs to be mentioned is the Matter integration. So for me, buying devices, I want cameras that I can put up in the home and outside the home that tie into the home app and HomeKit. I would like to not have to spend $130, $150 on cameras, each camera.
Yeah, it adds up real fast.
Yeah. So I have the Wise cameras around the house right now, not HomeKit enabled. And yet their name was on that list of names that was on the screen for companies that are in this Matter consortium. So, you could get, now they're probably going to be a little bit more expensive if they have this additional stuff in them to work with Matter, but you could get stuff that wasn't ridiculously expensive to be able to do those things. Maybe the cameras aren't even as good as the expensive Logitech cameras, but yeah, so I like the idea that they're creating a standard that the company, this is the other thing too, is we sell this stuff at the retail outlet, we'll call it that I work for. So how many people come in here or come in and are like, hey, I've got this light and I've got these plugs and I've got this. How can I get these all to work together? And it's just a mess. Oh, well, you got to get this hub for this stuff. And then you got to get this other thing to work with these, but they don't talk to each other. And they definitely don't talk to the thing that you want them to talk to. So nope, you're out of luck. You know, so I think that there's a real play that has to happen here with these companies. And I think that this Matter consortium has to really, you know, do a good job with this and make this work for everybody.
Yep. Time will tell. So.
Yeah. Well, now you know why they spent 40 minutes on iOS, because I think we just spent 40 minutes on iOS. But that's everything they announced in the iOS section of the event on Monday. So,
it's good stuff.
Well, I shouldn't say that. They did talk about the CarPlay stuff as well. I had that noted separately from the other stuff.
Yeah, me too.
But that CarPlay stuff was so conceptual, and
yeah,
I think there's not much to talk about yet. It was really pretty.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah, I would totally have loved to have some of those features in my dash, but you know, they weren't going to work with my dash anyway, because I've only got like a little tiny screen in the middle that has some information on it, in front of my
and they said
my steering wheel, but
coming like 2023,
the
earliest
end of 2023,
which means that they're 2024 model cars that they're coming at the end of 2023, which means I'm not going to have that in my car till at least 2030 at the earliest.
Yeah. And
I just bought a car last year, and there's no way I'm buying, unless someone hits me and totals my car. There's no way I'm getting a new car before then.
Right. And quite honestly, I think they had to announce this now. That's the other thing that people were talking about, is why did they announce this now? I think they had to, because they've got to start working with automakers, and this was going to leak. Yeah, this was definitely going to leak out. So they wanted to bring this up now so that so we know about it. So, and I think it puts a little bit of pressure on the automakers to add it. So, which I'm not opposed to.
I saw one of MKBHD's tweets, and it was the picture of like the full width dash screen. You know, it's like 5 feet wide or whatever. I was like, dude, that looks like a spaceship. I want that so bad. It was a screenshot of that, or one of the other, concepts. And it was just something like, in parentheses, hey, Apple, why are you just going to start making the rest of the car too, or something like that, like real snarky, it got me good. So it was pretty funny.
What I did, one of the other podcasts I listened to this week mentioned something about this too. And I like the idea that as a driver, you have your display kind of in the middle. So if you need to interact with that display, you can kind of do that. But what this dash kind of did, this dash idea, was that it actually put information for the passenger on the other side too. So there was
controls too, so that they can
like
so change the music or the temperature, or all sorts of stuff, send messages.
So
I think it's brilliant.
I like that idea, and I'm totally down with having all of my instrument panels digital, but just because
I think sorry,
and just being able to customize them to what you want, instead of having like right now I have in my Jeep, right in the middle, I have a digital readout for my speed. If I set the cruise control, it takes over that screen and says cruise control set. But I can't see the speed that I'm going for say like 5 seconds as that's sitting on the screen. Now, that wouldn't be a problem if I could read the frickin' speedometer. But because I see the digital readout all the time, the speedometer, like, it's not ingrained in my brain to read the speedometer. So, and it's kind of one of these goofy ones where it's like 20 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour. So now you got to look at it and go, okay, well, now they're 20 between this and that, like the little longer line is
carry the one.
it's like, so it's not one of those things where you just look at it and know. So it, where if you could customize your instrument cluster like that, you could have all the information that you want there and have it the way you want it, or at least whatever's closest that gives you what you need. So if you want just a digital readout with a line across the bottom showing, how fast you're going compared to how fast you could go, or if you want a round, display or whatever, you have those options when it's digital. So, and I love the idea. Love the idea of having maps right in the instrument cluster too. So they showed that.
Or in having the directions on the heads-up display, so it shows you on your windshield. Okay, turn right.
That's something that I think is going to come eventually too.
Some cars already have it.
But so I'm not just saying like reflecting it off the windshield, but it's actually in the windshield.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. So like my one of my good friends here he just got a brand new 3/4 ton Chevy truck. I mean, this thing is a beast.
Right.
And it's got a heads up display on the windshield that only the driver can see.
Yeah.
And it's got like speed and direction and that sort of stuff. And I was like, man, that is so cool.
Oh, I totally dig that idea, because kind of imagine if they took that whole windshield and your instrument cluster is down at the bottom of the windshield. You have your navigation where it's actually it's dropped a arrow on the road in front of you. And so when it's time, like that's something that for me, when I'm following my GPS, it's like, okay, well, is it this road or where, if you've got LiDAR shooting out from the front of your vehicle and it can see that there's a road coming up that's off to the side, it can make those calculations to say, okay, that's the road I need to turn on. I need to show the driver that this is the place to turn. And so now instead of looking down at my display in the middle to say, okay, was this the one? And now I'm looking straight ahead. I'm seeing all the traffic around me. I've got an arrow in front of me that's pointing off to the side and going, I have no doubt this is where I got to turn. So I think it'd be really neat. I know that's a real pie in the sky concept, but I think it'd be super neat to see something like that eventually.
I agree.
But it's probably going to happen around the time that we have self-driving cars, and it's not going to need it anymore. So
yeah, well, we'll see about that, considering all the stuff that's going on with Tesla right now and their autopilot crashes.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Well, we have quite a bit left here. We are at an hour and 37 minutes. Probably going to be different after editing. So if you're looking at your podcast player, oh wait a minute, that's not where we're at. How long you want to go today?
I think we should land the plane here and carry on next time.
Because we got watchOS to talk about. We've
got
macOS, iPadOS.
Yeah, we've got a lot left.
Do we want to talk about the hardware that they showed at the event, real quick?
If you want, I don't mean the iPad Air looks really cool, but
yeah, there's not much to really say. I mentioned that the MacBook Pro, the 13-inch MacBook Pro that they offered, still's got a touch bar on it. I think this is we need to have a $999 machine. Here it is. I think that's really the messaging.
And what's funny too about that is they made such a big deal that the MacBook Air has full-size function row keys, and like they pointed it out, and then the MacBook Pro still has the touch bar.
That's like, but
it's all money savings to your point. Yeah,
I'll be honest with you. I was going to bring this up when we talk about macOS, but my laptop is a 2016 MacBook Pro. So to give you a little background, this is the MacBook Pro that came out alongside of the first ones with the touch bar. So this one did not have the touch bar, and the rest of the line did. And so I went with this one because it was less expensive, and I just didn't, the touch bar was cool at the time, but I wasn't going to pay the premium for it. So this is the 2016. Why that's significant is that the macOS Ventura is starts at the 2017 Macs. So my Mac is now not my MacBook Pro is now no longer eligible for updating to the next point 0 release. So I'm not unhappy with this Mac. I beat on this thing all the time, and it works great. Matter of fact, I'm approaching, what was it, 2016? I maybe got it in 2017, maybe, the first part of 2017. I forget exactly when I bought this. But what it comes down to is that this machine has been with me for 5, 6 years now. And I can tell you that with my last Mac that I bought, it was a 2010 MacBook Pro. That one lasted me a good 7 years, and it still works. It's upstairs. It's slow. It's kind of part of the reason that I updated then was because it was no longer going to be getting any more updates as far as point 0 releases, and so I updated it then. But this one is working way better long term than the other one, and part of that could be the solid state hard drives in it and stuff like that. So it's got a little bit more longevity. But this would be one of the first machines that I could literally say I could give this to my wife and not feel like I'm giving her a crap computer that's a hand me down. It's still a hand me down, but it runs great. Which, by the way, the colors in the MacBook Air, really disappointed. I was really hoping to look at my wife and be like, "You want a purple one?" but we got the colors we got weren't what we were hoping for, I think.
Bro,
But
one of them is as close to matte black as I think we're gonna get, and that makes me excited.
you know what? So I'm saying all this to say that I am not in a position to be able to update. Um, just from a financial standpoint, I got to clear the decks right now on some other stuff that I've got on payment plans and stuff like that before I could ever think about updating. But I'm starting to lean more and more into the idea that a MacBook Air actually would serve my purposes just as good as if I updated to one of these fancy Pros. And quite honestly, to take that to the next step, if I had a MacBook Air here, in the next year or so, and I started having problems with my 27-inch iMac, which, let's be honest, this thing's going to be a rock for me for a while. I don't think it's still on Intel, which is probably the only downside to it. But I could really see long term going to that MacBook Air, replacing my current iMac with just a monitor, and doing the whole like mobile desktop, laptop desktop configuration, because I'm not down in my studio all that often working on my iMac, and yet this is the like beast of the machine that I have, so I could totally see a future where that is my setup, and I could see now an Air being a solution to what I do, as opposed to, because I don't really do that much photo or that much video editing or motion stuff, but I think that Air would probably handle that just fine.
I can tell you it does,
Okay,
and I
so
have the M1. So if you get an M2, in a year, or an M3,
mhm.
in a year and a half or whatever, that thing is gonna be.
Yeah, so I think for my needs, that's going to be perfectly fine. And starting out at $1,200, I'm sure that I'm not going to end up with a $1,200 machine. I'm sure I'm going to have to spec it up and get the storage that I need and all that kind of stuff, because I'm sure it's not going to provide what I need for that. But
Yeah, so it's worth specking it out decently if you're going to use it for 6 or 7 years, but you can also cut back some of that cost if you sell the iMac to somebody,
Hmm.
to help reduce the payments. But yeah, I mean, these things are investments nowadays
Yeah.
for how much money they are. So it's worth waiting until it's financially responsible and, um, you know, getting a machine that's gonna, after 6 years, still be usable. Maybe not upgradable, but still very usable.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about what's delighting us this week. So yeah. So why don't you go ahead? I'm specking out a new MacBook Air.
Don't do it, Mitch.
I'm just going to spec it
Don't
out,
do
and
it.
I'm hoping to have a price for you here in a little bit. I know that I
Well,
can
okay.
do it. So
What's delighting me, we've already talked about it, is iPad OS 16 and the multitasking and external display support. Like, it just it makes me giggle that I can do this on my iPad now. Like, there was a tweet that Federico sent out like right after WWDC, something along the lines of iPad OS 16. Uh, it finally happened. Wow. And then he replied to his own tweet, just said, I'm just sitting here giggling like an idiot. It's like, that is exactly how I feel. Like, I liked it. So, like, I smashed that heart button. I was like, yes. Like, I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like, what we've been wanting for so long on the iPad is now here. Now there's just a few more dominoes to fall for me personally. And that would be Logic and Final Cut, or, you know, pro level video and audio. It doesn't have to necessarily be those, but those are like the last dominoes to fall for me. And so I just it like, I sat here last night at like 11 o'clock just playing with my iPad on my X, like, ooh, can I do this? What happens when I do that? Like, I am genuinely excited for what the future is, or I mean, what the present is, and then what it could be in the future once, third party apps get updated for all this stuff. And so the cursor isn't wonky on, and all that sort of stuff. And as Apple hopefully refines this into a really polished experience. And I'm sending feedback every time a crash happens, or stuff like that. And so are a bunch of developers that can give much more specific feedback. Um, it's just really fun and enjoyable. And that's the thing that, for so long, Apple has sort of self-assigned themselves that their products bring joy and pleasure and whimsy and that sort of stuff, right? Um, but this is the first time in a long time I've felt that from, from the company. I shouldn't say a long time, since we got the redo of iPad OS, and I was at like 14 or 13. I forget which one it was, a couple years ago, right? Um, but like, it just genuinely excites me, and it brings a smile to my face. And I know that's a weird thing to feel excited and happy, and have a pleasurable experience with a piece of glass attached to a chip. But like, it is what it is, and I am the way that I am, and this makes me happy and excited. So that's why I immediately traded in my iPad for a new one, because I was like, oh my gosh, I will trade my very, 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 very functional iPad in for a new one, spend a couple extra $100 and get this, because I know how much I'm going to enjoy this and
yeah.
how much I'm going to use it.
So real time follow up. $2019.
For what?
I it is the I started with the base model MacBook Air in midnight because I none of the other colors are any good. Um, the only thing it's got 8 gigs of unified memory. I went to a 2 terabyte of storage.
Oh,
If
there
it's
you go.
if it's
That's
going
the
to be my
upgrade.
main machine, I have to have the storage. So that was an $800 upcharge. The only other thing that I bumped up was the power adapter. I went to the dual USB-C port.
Oh, nice.
That way that I could plug in my iPad or something like that into it as well.
Are there options for more unified RAM, or is 8 the limit in there?
No, it's got 16 and 24.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, but I just
That's
went
good
with
to
I
know.
just kept it at the base of 8 GB
Well,
because
yeah,
I'm
because
sure
you're
that's going to
not
be
doing
plenty.
yeah, and you're not doing super intensive stuff all the time.
Yeah.
That
So
requires more, so
it's
very
not
good.
available for order until next month anyway, but it's yeah, I bumped it over 2,000. So if you think about 2,000 plus another 1,600 for the Apple Studio display, you're sitting right about where right pretty close to what I paid for my Intel iMac. So
Gotcha.
so a
So
few $100 more, but
my M1 MacBook Air has a 1 terabyte display, or display 1 terabyte of storage,
yeah.
but I have 16 gigs of memory. So I went with a little less storage and a little more RAM than what you're looking at. But
Yeah.
like right now, I've got 600 gigs available on my hard drive. So I'm sitting pretty there, but I also store, like, once I'm done with my video projects, I move them all to external drives so that I don't bog down my SSD. But
Yeah, my
it's,
iMac right now is sitting at just about a terabyte free. I've got a 2 terabyte drive in here, so I'm about half full right
yeah,
now.
well, there you go. You do need
Yep.
the extra space.
Yep. So yeah, two
What's
terabytes
the
is a must right now for me, and it's mostly audio. I got a lot of WAV files on this machine, so not that I couldn't outsource those to my Synology, but the Synology is filling up too. So I don't have a ton of storage on the Synology right now. I think I started with 4 terabyte drives. So
that's I haven't even started touching RAID stuff. That's a whole
mm.
world that I haven't gotten into.
Well, it's a RAID 1 system. It's basically a main drive with a redundancy drive. So it's just the two drives in it.
Oh. So what's delighting you, Mitch?
Man, I hate to do this, but normally I talk about gadgets and stuff and the like the latest thing that's delighting me. And there's one thing this last week that has been a constant uh thing. I had a really rough week this last week. And it's probably just come down to the fact that God's really been testing me on a lot of things. Um there's been a lot of spiritual warfare. Their work was insane. We so much work. I'm every day I'm going in and hit the ground running the minute I walk into work, and I don't stop. Like the other day I wasn't even sure if I was going to get a lunch because I just was going and going and going all day trying to clean up this and get this done, and got a truck to unload, so I got to clear out all this stuff. And it was a tough week, and a lot of unknowns, a lot of just complications. um on top of that, I got a chip in my windshield on Tuesday that has cracked a pretty decent uh section of my windshield. It's not like terrible, but it's bad enough, and I got to look at it every time I get in the car. I did go ahead and make a claim with our insurance company, and SafeLight is supposed to be coming out next week to repair or to replace the windshield. But they that's not a guarantee either because they've got to be able to get the windshield. So the appointment's for Tuesday right now, but I'm kind of suspecting that I'm going to hear from them and that they're going to push the appointment out. There. I'm sure there's other things that I'm not thinking of right off the top of my head, but it was just kind of one thing after another. And my wife's got her big sale this weekend that I haven't talked about. And so there's been a lot going on with that. We've got her family coming next week. Next starting on like Friday, I think Friday or Saturday, and they're going to be here for about a week after that. And so there's a lot of stuff we're preparing for, and there's going to be some stress involved in having them here, and just you know typical stuff. But it's been a busy month. It's been hard. And what's totally incredible, and this really, Thursday this last week was probably the best indication of how this last week went for me, and how God really stepped in and blessed me in all the craziness. And so what happened on Thursday? So our cardboard baler broke last weekend. And so we've been dealing with like having to palletize cardboard and get it out of our receiving area. And just it's been a ton of work that we normally don't have to do. And so it's been a lot of that. Well, we got our pallet trailer, which we send back a couple times a week. We send a pallet trailer back. And then we receive a new trailer, probably just about every day of product. So those two trailers always sit in two of the docks two of the four docks that we have. So we've been waiting for an open top dumpster for all this cardboard. And so kind of what happened on Thursday was the open top wasn't showing up. So we still had all this cardboard that we had to deal with. So, and it's just filling up the receiving department. The truck that had all the pallets in it, or the trailer that had all the pallets in it, seized up and wouldn't move for the truck driver that was trying to pull it out. So now they're talking about having to get that serviced. And in the meantime, the other trailer that we had, he had to take that one. So I had to empty that one out. So now the whole receiving department is full of stuff. And this is like maybe like 3:30 in the afternoon that all this stuff is happening. And I have to have the entire department cleared out by 4:30. And so I'm just totally, I have no idea how this is going to happen at this point. And because, God has really been working with me on relying on him, bringing it to him, letting him handle this stuff. I remembered partway through the day, it's like, okay, I just need to pray about it, give it to him, and just keep doing what I have to do to accomplish my goal. So the driver comes back in, the driver that was taking the trailers, and says, okay, well, one other thing about this trailer is that for them to service the trailer, you have to take everything out of the trailer that's in it. Well, I've got a full department. And I looked at him, I was like, I'm just going to be honest with you. This isn't going to happen today. I says, tomorrow, if you want to set up an appointment for the guys to come out and look at it tomorrow, that's fine. But I says, we can't do that today. I don't have time. We have a truck to unload tonight. And I says, I've got to have this all cleared out. And I said, and I'm just going backwards. And he said, well, that's cool. I'll let him know. And so that was our agreement at that point. Well, about 4:00, I am about as flustered as I've ever been at work, and just stressed out, trying to figure out how I'm going to make all this stuff work. And I'm running around like a crazy man, trying to get stuff out of receiving so that we can unload a truck in there Thursday night. And I look back at the door that I had propped open, and there's a guy standing there in a green and yellow vest. Now, do you have waste management down there?
I know it. Yeah.
Yeah. So their colors are green and yellow. So I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Let me go see what he needs. He had our open top for the cardboard there early. So I'm like, okay, that's cool.
Nice.
One miracle today. And I says, I thanked him. I told him where I needed it put. So by about 20 after 4, we were throwing cardboard into this open top, which, by the way, we filled up in 20 minutes. It was full. But we got the bulk of the cardboard all taken care of. And as we were doing that, my truck driver walks in and says, hey, I look, and I stopped him. I was like, okay, you either have a miracle for me or you have another problem for me. And he's like, well, it might be a miracle. He's like, the truck's moving now, so I can take that trailer. And I was like, oh my God, I almost cried a little because I was so excited. Um, so he took that trailer. We got to do everything like we normally would have. I had an empty trailer to put stuff in. It was amazing. And it was just like one of those things where it's just like, hey, Mitch, see, you just talk to me, you ask me, I'll get it figured out. And it was just, it was such an amazing kind of like, yeah, we can trust him. And so if you're going to ask me what's delighting me today,
Mm-hmm.
I hate to be that guy because we don't normally go this direction with this segment, but I'm delighting in the Lord so much right now for just like the things he's taught me over the last week and just how cool and awesome and how he takes such good care of us. And it's good.
Amen.
So I couldn't think of anything else that was more worthy of this segment today than that.
You certainly don't need to hate to be that guy. Like
Yeah.
I'm very glad that you shared that story. That's awesome.
But cool. All right. Well, we will cover watchOS, macOS, and iPadOS the next time we get together. And super excited. So got a little ring of the bell.
We'll also hopefully there'll be updates to the developer beta and maybe even some more features that will come to light over the next 2 weeks that we'll be able to talk about as well. So just because we're waiting to talk about those isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like we might actually have more to talk about because we're waiting. So that's I think an added bonus for taking our time with this.
You betcha. All right, man. Well, it's been fun.
Well, it has been fun. And as the benevolent predictator, I will allow you to end the show now.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, sir. I appreciate your permission, like I needed it. Anyway, if you want to check out more about our show, maybe listen to some past episodes, find out a little bit about us, you can check us out at innerdialogue.show. That's innerdialogue.show. And you can get to my socials. You best hit us both up on Twitter, because that looks like we've got Cam back on Twitter now. So you can find me on my website at mitchcraig.online.
And I'm cambrennan.com.
All right. So hit us up on our socials and let us know if you've got comments, questions. Maybe we got something wrong that you would like to have corrected on the show next time. We can certainly do that. I don't think we get things wrong, but we're not infallible either. So, but by the way, did you saw
we don't get things wrong except all the picks that we missed.
Yeah, that's correct. Did you see me point at you to say the URL of your website?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a radio thing where I'm throwing it to you.
Gotcha.
Just so you know why I did that. Anyway, we'll wrap it up. And my benevolent predictator, thank you for gracing us with your presence today.
Indeed.
All right. Have a good week, man.
See ya.
See ya.